minecart-based item request system and the latest iteration of the storage hall design. Today on designing the storage system. Lately, I've been playing around with a new feature for my storage system project. The ability to request shulker boxes full of items from my bulk storage via minecarts. How this works is we have a chest minecart here with a key item. In this case, we got a piece of light blue wool here, which corresponds to the slice that has shulkers of light blue wool. So this will request that this chest minecart be completely filled up with shulkers of light blue wool. The minecart will first enter a queue, and there is some redstone logic here to ensure that we're only ever processing one request at a time. Minecart exits the queue, goes over this detector rail which depowers this redstone, and all the filter hoppers are typically kept locked as a lag optimization, so they are unlocked when handling a request. We can see right here, here's the light blue wool slice, the minecart goes over it, and the key item is taken out, which results in this piston retracting this rail back here. Minecart arrives, snaps to the rail, ends up on the bottom, and also ends up gets its key item put back into it. Arrives at the minecart station, which activates this rail line here, powering ends up this comparator fader. And when this comparator fader fades out, a signal will be sent down this rail line, powering ends of all the trapdoors and releasing the minecart, like so. Minecart goes out this way, runs over this detector rail, which relocks ends of all these filter hoppers up here. Minecart proceeds over here, where it runs over yet another detector rail. That resets this redstone up here, so the system is ready to handle another request. Okay, Duke, that's cute and all, and if you can request items from your bulk storage via minecarts. How wonderful. Scale it up to the size of your storage hall, and it'll take upwards of a minute to process each individual request. Therefore, it is not viable as a player interface. To which I reply, yeah, you're right. Item call systems often aren't viable as player interfaces. It's so much easier as a player to just run over to the chest that happens to have the items and pull them out. But you know what a item call system is good as? A non-player interface. Imagine this scenario. In my base, I have a tree farm, and that tree farm consumes bone meal. Okay, great. How do I handle that? Well, most of the time people will have storages built onto the farms, have a fairly extensive storage for both ends of the consumables and what the farm produces. But what if it could just pull all the items it needs from my storage system, rather than having to have extensive individual storages for each of my farms in my base? They just pull from the main storage itself. So imagine here, the tree farm has a minecart, and it's configured with some key items. Bone meal, because it's requesting shulkers of bone meals, and these banners, which correspond to a route in a rail network. It sends this minecart out in an incoming rail network that's separate from this one, that all converges onto my storage system. It goes there, gets processed, filled up with bone meal, and then it starts going back down the line. And using the exact same redstone as we have here for minecart routing, just scaling it down and having fewer slices, it goes for the junctions. So this first junction here, no sort of key items, so we're just going to go down the default path. This one, yes, we got a light blue banner, so we go down this way. We got a gray banner, so we go down this way. And we got a cyan banner, so we go down this way. Minecart is returned to us with bone meal. When you think about it, this kind of system seems to solve multiple issues. Don't need to have massive amounts of storage at all of the farms, adding to the hopper counts overall at the base. The farms only store a small amount of items and request more on an as-needed basis. Minecarts, while in the past, say in 1.12, had some really nasty bugs with disappearing and duplicating, are pretty darn reliable nowadays. I haven't been able to get minecarts to seriously bug out in the modern versions of the game. Yeah, minecarts still do have some issues, You gotta be careful with how you route them and such, because minecarts on adjacent rails, turning corners, stuff can still cause some issues, but they seem to be fairly resilient to being randomly unloaded. And when you think about it, what is going to be the most common item used by most contraptions and farms within the base? Empty shulker boxes. And I'm already going to have a massive locking storage for empty shulker boxes for the storage system itself. So wouldn't it make sense to just have that be a centralized source of empty shulker boxes? And then any contraption, any farm in the base simply requests them on an as-needed basis? Well, yeah, that seems to make a lot of sense. I'm gonna be honest with you guys when it comes down to this whole item request feature. It has a lot of moving parts, and there's plenty of places where something could go wrong. Here in the test world, it's been working fine, but I actually don't really know if it's gonna work well in survival. I mean, this is kind of like uncharted territory, really. As far as I know, no one's done a system like this in survival and run it long term, so I don't really have anything to compare to, at least to my knowledge. So, if this feature ends up not working well in survival, I am prepared to write it off and to just forget about it. That said, I really don't want to lose distribution of empty shulker boxes, so I am considering making a separate, specialized, and simplified network for distributing empty shulker boxes. This right here is the latest iteration of my storage hall. Down here, and if we have the logic here and such for the item request system. Up here in front, we are still using multi-item sorters V4s for general item sorting, although for each category there is an extra double chest now. And for bulk, we access it via these barrels here, and barrels are used so that way I can use block displays above them. Each slice of bulk contains enough space for 690,000 items. Those are stackable 64 items within shulker boxes. And actually, that's a little over my target of 500,000 per item type, but unfortunately, that's the smallest I could go for because of this new feature right up here. If a particular slice were happen to be completely filled of shulkers, then the water stream here would simply, well, pick up the shulker, get picked up in this water stream, and then eventually routed to an overflow bulk storage. So that way, I never lose any items. But yeah, if I could, I totally would shave off another hopper and double chest per slice here. Versus previous iterations, bulk storage hopper locking has improved significantly. Previous iterations were using a global lock, meaning the storage system would have to either unlock or relock all of bulk storage at once. No sort of fine-grained control, which obviously when you have about 1,000 hoppers making up bulk storage alone, not really ideal. So I investigated, could I do per slice into locking and unlocking? And the answer was kinda. I couldn't fit the redstone I wanted in order to drive such a system, because I wanted it to be, whenever an unlock is triggered, that it would say unlocked for a couple of seconds. So that's what I have this comparator fader here for. And what I settled on was what I call local locking. So basically, and if there is one set of redstone locking, and if for every 3 slices of bulk here. And when any of these 3 slices of bulk need the lock to be released, it will trigger a release. So for example, say a shulker box comes in here, that'll trigger the lock to turn off for a brief amount of time. Same thing if you happen to say replace the display shulker here in front, it also turns off. And if you happen to say get a minecart from the item call that comes in, it also turns this off. Although instead of just turning off briefly, it toggles it off. So only once the minecart is sent back off does it end up actually relocking the storage. And that's basically it for all the latest changes to this. We still have the hopper locking for the multi-item sorter V4, so have the indicator lamps for if a particular slice of bulk happens to end up full. And even the new item call here is completely hopper locking too. I guess you could say the whole theme with this iteration of the storage slice for my storage hall, it would be lag optimization and locking hoppers. Out of an average of 16.5 hoppers per block. So that's per block going down the hall here for this right here. There are only 2.5 of them left unlocked, and 14 of them are kept locked when they're not needed, giving this thing a lock ratio of 84%. 84% of the hoppers you see here are kept locked. That's pretty good. I'll take that. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd very much appreciate it if you could leave me a like. And in case you missed the latest episode of World Update that aired on New Year's, you can go check it out here. Until next time, everyone, I'll catch y'all later. Bye.